think we're close enough. 30 seconds to go. If you check your phone, please, just make sure they're silent or off if you choose. I'm going to sound like a broken record on that, but it just saves us all that awkward moment a little bit later. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll have a pledge of allegiance and a moment of prayer. We'd like to mention I believe it was last Monday, we pointed out that our county clerk's mother was in poor health, and we got the word Saturday that she did pass. So if you'll remember the family of Jan Teasley, that was Rhonda Wooden's mother. She passed away on Saturday, rather. And then we have a family in Hull that had a 3-year-old child that was hit by a vehicle yesterday. We'd like to remember them in prayer as well. I don't know if there's anybody that I'm missing, perhaps, or if not, if you would stand with me, we'll have the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father, we come to you, we thank you for all your many blessings, your love, your mercy. I pray that you'll extend that, especially to the families we mentioned. Let them know that they're in our prayers. Heal, minister to them like only you can. We trust that you have exactly what it is that they need, and we'll just trust that that'll be done. Bless our efforts here tonight, Lord. We pray that we'll be earnest in our approach, and that we'll be understanding in anything that we do accomplish. We want to give you all the praise for it. We ask it in your name. Amen. All right. As is the first order of business on many evenings, the approval of our minutes. We have 2 meetings that we need to approve minutes for. July 31st was a special call meeting, and then we have the regular meeting immediately following that. So we'll take a vote on that special call meeting first. Motion to approve, Chair. I have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion on that? Commissioner Howell?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right. Our second item is our regular scheduled business meeting on the 31st. When we have a chance, we'll take a motion to approve those. Motion to approve, Chair. Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right. Okay. Business involving guests, group or multiple visitors. We have Ms. Jennifer Ivey from the Madison County Library. Would you like to come on up here?
Thank you for having me tonight. I'm glad to see so many people out to hear the library's report tonight. I'll be happy to give it to y'all. I brought my report by earlier with the calendar for August. So this is for April through June of 2017. For our adult programming, we had 67 total programs with 473 in attendance. Some of those were grant programs from the Vibrant Communities Arts Grant, and I have the application in process for the next fiscal year for the Vibrant Communities Grant again. So we're working on getting some more grant programming in. Our youth programming highlights, we have 94 total programs with 2,394 in attendance. Some of this is summer reading program numbers, so because this last quarter covers part of the summer. 43, or about half of our youth programs were done as outreach at schools, Head Start, and churches. In other news, we have over 1,000 Facebook fans now, so if you're not following us on Facebook, that's a good place to get information from the library. We have no staff changes last quarter, but since then we have had a part-time person resign to pursue a graduate degree out of state. So we have an open position as of August 15th, and we're taking applications for that now. Staff training I highlighted to mention, lots of conference attendance and even some conference presentations by staff from Madison County. And we have 20 active volunteers each week, so 20 people in the community are volunteering their time to the library, which really helps us out a lot and frees up staff to do more administrative things and also program planning. At the last board meeting, our Board of Trustees approved raising our printing prices from 10 to 15 cents per black and white and from 75 cents to $1 per page in color. That went into effect today, which brings us in line with the prices charged throughout the rest of the Athens Regional Library System and also the Piedmont region. Not included in the report, but I wanted just to mention we have some of our summer reading program statistics that I just did last week. We had over 700 people participate in summer reading in Madison County. That formula calculated that we have read over 10,000 books this summer. That's just June and July. We had over 2,000 people attend one or more of our programs held this summer, which the total programs was 127 programs. So people are coming to the library and having fun and learning stuff. And upcoming events are on your August calendar. I wanted to mention specifically Senior Citizens Day on August 21st. We'll have a resource room of organizations that provide resources or opportunities specifically for seniors. I think the Madison County mentors are going to be there trying to recruit from our retired community. So I hope everybody can come to that. That's free. And also on August 21st is the Great American Eclipse, if you've heard about this thing that's going to happen in the sky. We're having an eclipse viewing party at the library that afternoon, so we'll have snacks and bring your own lawn chair and sit out in the parking lot with us. We'll also stream it inside in case anybody doesn't want to go outside or in case it's cloudy and still see the event. So that's happening on August 21st, and that is also free.
Are you offering glasses?
We ran out of glasses today.
Okay.
I'm holding some for the program, so if y'all come to the eclipse viewing party, I will have glasses for people at that. But yeah, Kroger is selling them.
Okay.
Lowe's might be selling them.
Amazon has them too.
Probably.
They have an ISO rating.
Right, you have to get the correct, the ones that are safe for solar viewing, and you can find that information like on NASA's website. So the ones we gave out were safe. So, do you have any other questions about the library?
I got my glasses today.
Okay.
Look at the sun, they work.
Yeah. I've had people say that. I'm waiting for the eclipse. If that's all.
I tested one of my students who was in the program, and you know, normally see a reading level or two drop in the summer, and he went reading level up. So
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
I know.
That's the aim.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, now, Mr. Smith, Steve Smith, if you'd like to come forward and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about
Hi, my name is Steve Smith. I've never thought of Eclipse before. I'm the new director of the Oconee River Resource Conservation and Development Council. Madison County's been a member for years and years. I've only been around for a few months. The council has been inactive for about a year and a half, from what I gather. So we're trying to change that. What we do, we handle some of the grants coming into the areas. Like we have 14 members, counties in the area. And we handle some of the grants, which we turn around and work with our member counties. Typically, they require a matching fund. It can be in kind. Matter of fact, I've talked to Mr. Scarborough about some potential projects here in Madison County already. Hopefully, we do something like that sooner or later. Your current members are Mr. Terry Chandler and Mr. Adam Spear. I've never met Mr. Chandler or Mr. Spear. I've only had a couple of meetings since I've been director, but I certainly need to meet those gentlemen and see what kind of thoughts they have. But we go around, we talk to the county chairman, we talk to the county managers on the county's head county managers, and we ask them to get with their department heads, see if their department heads have any wish list projects that can't be paid easily out of general fund, or maybe SPLOS. Maybe we can come together and do something with them on some of these projects where they title us as Resource Conservation Development Council. It can include anything from sidewalks to neighborhoods. I've seen what other Resource Conservation Development Council have done nationwide. It's amazing what some of them have done elsewhere. We start with things like watershed projects, but we can do historic preservation, we can do sidewalks, we can do meals, wheels of work, all sorts of projects that help the residents of our 14 member counties. It's not necessarily just the county governments or city governments, it can be individual citizens. Like right now, we have a project going on in Greene County where we are replacing some drain fields on some failing septic tank lines, something like that. So it's not strictly county governments or city governments, but we can cover quite a bit. Since we haven't been around for a couple of years, if y'all have any questions I might could answer for you today, I'll see what I can do. If I don't know the answer, I'll get back to you.
Let's think about it.
Well, please get with your department heads, see what they have on their mind that they haven't been able to do otherwise.
And I was going to point out that Mr. Smith's one that he and I did speak earlier in the year regarding we had toyed with an idea of a gymnasium. And that was one of the items that surprised me that would come under consideration of some of those programs that you're talking about.
Well, we just have to pursue it, see how far we can get with it.
Right. County gymnasium. Very cool. We thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. All right. If we're going to jump on down to item number 5, statements and remarks from citizens on agenda items. And before we get into this, let me, I wouldn't think of depriving anybody of an opportunity to speak, and this is an opportunity to speak on those items, items number 6, 7, and 8. And I would share with you that I know we have some of the same people in the room, and as much as we can keep some of our thoughts collected and non-repetitive, that would expedite and keep us on track. And what I'm also going to ask is for the board, we'll either statements and remarks from citizens, and if we can, we'll wait till it comes time to discuss it under new business and consider the vote for us to have our discussion on that if we can. So at this time, is there anybody who'd like to make a remark or statement regarding items 6 through 8 on our agenda this evening?
I want to speak on the water ordinance.
Okay, I'll take it. If you want to come forward, what I'd like you to do is come forward to the podium here and give us your name, please, and address, and I'll catch Scotty next, okay?
My name is Garrett Verrier. You said my address as well?
If you would, please.
Yep, it's 653 Mount Albert Way, Sugar Hill, Georgia, 30518.
You spell your last name.
Verrier, that's what it would be. And I'm a manager at the Broad River Outposts, and we're a kayaking and canoeing outfitter on the Broad. And I just wanted to address the river ordinance. I'm just taking time off of work real quick to do so, and just wanted to explain, the rules and efforts that we make to enforce to our patrons, when they're on the river. We don't allow glass, guns, or styrofoam coolers on the river to anybody that comes on and goes down with us. All of our coolers must have a locking top or zipper to keep them closed in case the boat's too capsize, so we do that as well. And all dogs are allowed, but must be friendly and leashed at all times when on the river. And we also want to state we feel the grand majority of our customers are respectful, law-abiding citizens. These families and individual citizens who are renting should have the same rights as private boaters to bring meals, snacks, coolers, and as much fluid for hydration, as needed when on the river, and as well as bags for trash, when they're out there kayaking. We feel the county should not restrict responsible, access to food, drink, while renting a boat to enjoy a state-owned resource because of a few bad eggs. We also want it to be known that we work alongside the Broad River Watershed Association and sponsor organized efforts to clean the river. Our employees and our customers themselves regularly pick up trash while enjoying the river on a daily basis. And we have worked alongside DNR and law enforcement successfully in the past to keep littering and rowdy behavior to a minimum and have done our part to ban the groups responsible. But, you know, we alone or this ordinance can, you know, keep them from going to another outfitter outside of Madison County and doing the same thing on the river. And that's basically all I wanted to say.
Okay, well, thank you. It was Gary?
Yep.
Gary?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Gary. All right, thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Scott Edwards, and I live at 361 Kings Ferry Road, Cumber, Georgia. And I'd like to say that the landowners that we represent would like to carry on with the ordinance as it is, except for a couple of small concessions. And one would be we'd like to up the water size to 2 liters, and we would like to make it that anybody with special needs or a handicap, any kind of handicap situation can take whatever they need to get down the river to make them comfortable. If it means 5 coolers, they're more than welcome to take the coolers. And we've gone around and we've met with 2 of the outfitters that have reached out to us and wanted to work with us on this issue. And we understand that the sandbar and the outpost both provide their customers with coolers that are locking, and we applaud that effort. But it's not working. There's still litter in the river, and they're still spilling over, and it's not really, the issue isn't really about how the cooler closes or whose cooler it is. It's about what goes in it and the behavior that comes afterwards. And we also acknowledge that they're meeting our 3 of our requirements, and that's the waiver, the signage, and the cleanup. But the cooler one just happens to be a real big one that we feel strong about, and we feel that it comes down to the well-being of the river and property rights. As we visited these places, we also noticed that they had posted signs all over their property, gates up, fences up, and they don't want people on their place drinking beer and littering and making their way of life miserable too. And well, there's people on our river that have to endure 500 of these people on any given weekend during the season. And I just ask y'all to please consider that, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Would anybody else like to make a comment or a statement on any agenda item tonight?
Yeah, I would. My name's Bill Hodges, Hodges, and I live at 7296 Wildcat Bridge Road. I said it last week, you know, and what I wanted to say was this, is that most of the bad behavior is just alcohol related, just young people out there having fun. I know that. But as you witnessed with your daughter, running the gauntlet of all the people down there that are foul language and whatever else they're doing when they get out on the bank, the only thing that keeps these incidents from turning violent when the landowners are there is because the landowners are at their house, their families are usually on the bank, and all we want is for them just to move on. And so we endure the cussing, you know, out on the rock, or the person that's telling us what they're not going to do, you know, on our own property. But if it were happening in the mall parking lot where the same words were being passed, it would be written up in the paper, you know, because people wouldn't allow you to talk like that to each other. And the only reason they're getting away with it now, and it's not everybody, I know that, but alcohol is a big part of it, you know. And it's just the landowners have a big investment, you know. We're on our property, we've got our families, our houses are right up the bank, and that's why it doesn't escalate, because we just want them to move on.
Mr. Hodges. Anybody else?
Well, my name's Jackson Parham. I live at 1718 Roy Woods Road. And I'm kind of split on the river incident, but I've been up and down the river most of my life. Cooler size is my biggest issue with it. I do not see limit to a 2-liter. If you go with quart size, a 5 or 10 quart, which would be a 6-pack or a 12-pack cooler, you could put adequate drinks and sandwiches in it. But I just think when you get down to just 2-liter size, anybody that takes kids or anybody else, if you got a couple of them, you're not going to agree on what type of drinks. I do agree there is issues with littering on the river. I see it on a daily basis with the trash, and I've responded to calls on the river with people being drunk or disorderly stuff, but compared to the amount of people that go down the river, I don't think the call volume really supports it if you look at the amount of cars that we have on the road to call volume to that if you put it into perspective, to look at them eye to eye.
Just to let you know, the 2-liter refers to the bottle, not a cooler. It refers to a container.
But you can't have cooler period, correct?
Well, that's what...
That's in the ordinance, right, if I understood the ordinance correctly?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I try to verify that.
2 liters per person.
Yeah.
Okay. But you still can't keep ice and sandwiches and everything. You still need some kind of cooler, in my opinion, that's going down the river. We've always took sandwiches and everything else and get our money's worth out of the outfitters that we go down with so that we can stay out there longer and enjoy it. Any other questions? That was just mine.
No, thank you. Thank you, Jackson.
My name is David Ray Dockery. We live at 1257 Seymour Road, which is approximately 3 miles downriver from the Broad River Takeout. And I just wanted to make a point about private property and private property regarding river rights. You know, we have owned private property on several rivers, and we know, as I said last week, it's a tenuous balance between commercial and recreational and property rights. But if you think about it, if you live on the river, your backyard may be a sandbar. Now, it is perfectly legal for anybody in this room or anybody anywhere to walk down the road, but if they start yelling and screaming and cussing and throwing beer bottles or beer cans on the road, that's not legal. And if they said, well, we're going to throw beer cans and bottles in this yard, your front yard, that's not illegal. And what if that's a nice front yard, I'm going to come into that front yard and have a picnic without permission. That's not legal. And it's not appropriate, and everybody has a right to the peaceful enjoyment of their property, be it a quarter-acre lot in a subdivision or a riverfront property. And I think that, you know, we don't have rules and regulations and ordinances and laws to restrict or punish the rights of the people who do the right thing. We have those rules and laws and ordinances and restrictions to protect us from the 5% that don't do right. And I think we all deserve the right to have peace in our home, whether it's a subdivision or a riverfront. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Eddie Correa. I live at 4326 Wildcat Ridge Road. I own a strip of riverland, about a half mile long, just a little strip we go camping on. I've seen a lot of trash, a lot of damage, all the same stuff. I've seen a lot of good people go down to. I don't think container size is going to help the food. If they take the beer away, they're going to put something stronger in the bottle, and same thing. I would suggest that they put numbers on the boats, both sides on the front, so they can be seen from a distance. And some of these people that are having these problems can say, hey, boat number 50. Maybe take a picture of them. Everybody's got a cell phone. That'd be my suggestion. to number the boats, make them accountable, because there is a lot of non-accountability on that river. And I think maybe a new access for public access for the rescue squad, the police, whatever. That'd be my suggestion. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Anybody else like to make a comment on any of these three agenda items tonight?
I'll be brief, I promise. That's not quite 2 liters. If you open it up, you could put some ice or a snack, or just to let you know, the intent is never to have a child have a problem because of his Capri Sun or a snack. That's not the issue. We reached out, I listened last time, which is important, I think. We listened to the ideas from the other side, and they talked about hydration and medical issues and other reasons, the reason for a larger container size. And then we went and talked to see if we could reach an agreement. I'd like to compliment one of the people we talked to at Sandbar and at Slowwater. They were very gracious, and it was a peaceful talk. We have agreement on a lot of issues. As when they step up, we have agreement on a ton of issues. The area we didn't get an agreement on is, of course, the coolers. I don't know that if we increase the size, it's going to make a big difference, but one container is very different than a cooler filled with several containers. That's just simply the way it works. We hear the argument that that won't fix the problem and that you can't go down our river without a cooler. But you can go down the Green or the French Broad or the Nantahala or the Chattooga or the Ocoee or a large number of rivers without a cooler. This ordinance is based on ordinance from other rivers. This is not very unique to our river. It has stood up to legal challenge. We need help. That's how the democratic process works. We see a problem, we address the problem, we give it to you guys. You guys vote on it, we respect the process. That's how it works. I taught civics and history for a few decades, and I always read the Lorax to my kids. He speaks for the trees, we're speaking for the river. I'm going to finish something kind of corny, but the end of the Lorax says, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, things are not going to get better, they're not. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak?
My name is Sarah Owen. It's Sarah with an H, Owen, no S. I'm at 118 Hidden Lake Drive in Hull. As Coach said, we met yesterday and we talked it out, and I'm from the Sandbar, but we're already kind of doing most of the stuff on the ordinance already, and the cooler was still kind of a bone of contention on both sides. The coolers we use that we run out to customers are not required to use our coolers, but the coolers we use, we tested them. I can get 16-ounce water bottles in it with very little ice. I can get 5 full-size Gatorades in there, again with very little ice. And then I could fit 12 cans in there, but there was no room for ice. I could fit 9 and there was a little bit of room, and 6 was about the norm. That's about what people put in it, because you want a lot of ice in it, because they leak like a sieve, so you really want as much ice as you can, otherwise it's all going and the drinks are hot. We really listened to what people said last time, and so we've kind of stepped up our game. Like, as we talk to people, like, we're not just explaining that property lines do this and that and so forth. It's more like, hey, when you stop, you really need to take into consideration how long you're there. You don't need to hang out on somebody's property. You're not going down to hang out on the river. You are going to float. Because I remember you said that you saw so many people stopped, and I know y'all talked about how people were just stopped and they stayed for hours. So that's something that we've kind of stepped up, is talking to them about, hey, you don't need to hang out on somebody's land for an hour. If you need to stop and adjust your stuff and stretch your legs or, you know, fix your hat or hair, put on sunscreen or whatever, okay, nobody's going to get on to you for that. I mean, obviously be polite if they ask you what you're doing there. You know, and everybody was very receptive to that. And I will say that, you know, everybody that we talked to really kind of perked up and they're like, oh. So I feel like on our side of things, we feel like this kind of came out of the blue for us and we had very little time to prepare and think about things and reach a good solution. And we would like to make a solution that makes everybody happy and doesn't hurt our business. Because one of the things that we're concerned about is people drive from Atlanta and Augusta and they get out there and they say, oh, I can't take my cooler. You know, I packed these sandwiches and chips and snacks and drinks for my kids and I'm not prepared for that. We don't have the facilities to keep enough containers that meet the requirement on hand, and then we tell them they got to buy that on top of something else. And they're just going to think that I'm just trying to make more money off of them and that we misled them and things like that. And, you know, I mean, we put on our website stuff, but there's a lot of stuff to read. And if you call, we try to tell you, but we might forget. We might not tell everybody. So on our side, we would just like to have more time to kind of reach a solution. Our season's kind of winding down. We were closed today because there's no water and it's barely coming up with the rain we're getting. So we would like more time to come up with a solution that really works for everybody. But I did want y'all to know that we are trying some new things because I do think that, you know, like we said last week, it's a societal problem. The only way you're going to change that is really by educating people. And I believe in that, and I believe that's our responsibility to really make people understand. This is how you behave when you're out here, and this is what you need to be doing when you're out here, and you are on someone's land, and you are trespassing, and you need to keep that in mind, and you need to be very respectful and not hang out for an hour. You need to go, and you need to come in, not knowing that everybody can paddle like Teresa. Thank you.
Thank you. Go on.
I hadn't planned on speaking tonight, but I'm going to speak anyway. There's a big elephant in the room, and the big elephant in the room is alcohol. And you can talk about a cooler, a big cooler, a little cooler, or a small cooler, but the behavior that's unacceptable, in my opinion, is fueled by the alcohol. So someone came up with an ordinance that limited the amount of floats you get down a river. So in my opinion, it's an attempt to minimize the amount of alcohol that goes down the river. Now, you run a pretty good business, based on what I heard and what I know. Now, if I said to you, you can have all the coolers you want, but you got a limited amount of alcohol, or no alcohol, in the cooler. And they can take whatever in that cooler, it would be interesting to get your response from them, because I think that's really part of the big problem. When I pick up cans and bottles, I don't pick up Diet Cokes, I pick up beer bottles. I mean, the number of soft drink cans and bottles that I pick up is less than 1%. If it's any. It's beer bottles and beer cans, and that's really what it's all about. Some of the behavior that's unacceptable has to do with the party, the frat boy atmosphere that's going on in the river. Now, you took a trip down the river last Sunday. How was your experience?
I would say probably 90% of the people were drinking on the river.
Okay.
And I would say probably 70% of the people, of which I saw, stopped and were parked. And there were a number, I couldn't say, I would say 20%, maybe 25%, I don't know, I was pedaling pretty quickly, yeah, right. But I would say 25% were parked and having a good time. I mean, just parked on the side.
Listen, I drink alcohol, I'll have a cold beer, I have a martini at dinner. I am not opposed to people drinking responsibly. That's not my deal. However, I really think that we're dancing around this big elephant in the room, and it's about behavior on the river that's unacceptable relative to property owners, and it's filled with alcohol. So the ordinance looks like it was put together with good intention to try to limit the number of ounces of stuff that goes down the river without a cooler. The elephant in the room is all about the booze, in my opinion, because that's what's driving the unacceptable behavior in a lot of cases. For what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Rosemary Griggs, and I live on 1257 Seymour Road. with the coolers, and we're trying to make concessions with a cooler that holds liquid, I understand that, you know, this section of the river would be a hard river to eat a sandwich on. You got to pay attention, or you're going to dump your cooler and yourself and your boat. So, to me, when I hear it's sort of there's wiggle room, like, well, you can stop, but I don't want people to stop on my property without my permission. I don't want that. I don't think anybody wants that. And if someone asks me, that's a totally different. That's my prerogative to give that permission. But if they're bringing a cooler to picnic, maybe this is the wrong spot to picnic on because it's private property. There are a lot of national parks and state parks that have beautiful setups for a picnic and for families to go and picnic on. And now, if you are going down the river, your goal, I mean, take time, but don't assume that it's okay to stop to do a little bit or to stop and stretch your legs, because you're on my property or someone else's private property. And I don't think that is a message that really comes out clear and definite that this is private property. This is a riverway that goes between private property. That, no, you do not have any permission to step on unless it's approved prior by the owner. So I think a sandwich, the cooler argument to have a sandwich is really, you know, you can stick a bag of peanuts in your bag and eat peanuts as you paddling down the river. But this is not that kind of a setup for picnics and people stopping along the river and setting up camp. That's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? I delayed a little too long. No, go ahead, sir.
I'll just throw in my 2 cents for
Your name, sir?
I'm Jack Shots. I live at 1265 Seymour Road, that's property on the river, and I pick up tons of beer cans fairly regularly. But what I'm thinking, the thoughts that have been going through my mind as I was coming here tonight was there are property rights and there are business rights, and the laws are to protect both. And I'm not opposed to people using the river. Matter of fact, I delight people using the river and getting to experience the river. I certainly don't like picking up their beer cans, lots of them. And they float down, you know, we live pretty far down from where the major part of traffic is. But it seems to me that the outposts, the business people, the commercial people on the river owe it to the people, the patrons the clients that they supply the services to enjoy the river, make it known to them that upon getting onto the river, they become stewards of the river. And there seems to be a lack of explanation, a lack of preparation to these people. That, you know, it's like you go in, you pay your money, you grab the canoe, you throw it in the water, you jump in, and you go. And if there was some spiel, some policy within these organizations, these commercial places, that said you get on the river, you become part owner of the river. In a way, you are part owner. It's part of your property too. The river in some ways belongs to everybody. But you also have respect to the property owners going down the river. And these rights, nobody has unlimited rights to anything. I don't have unlimited property rights. I don't think anybody in this room has unlimited property rights. We don't have unlimited rights in the marketplace. Everybody's place in the marketplace is restricted somehow. Else everybody be a doctor, everybody be a lawyer, or everybody be an architect. So these businesses do have restrictions. And they have restrictions that dovetail with the respect they owe to the property owners. And, I've been down the river, I like my cooler in the river too, and I try to be real careful about how I do things, but, I'm a property, I'm past a few points about, how I conduct my behavior, and I know, and I expect the people I travel with to be the same way, and they are. But the commercial property owners, the people who are making a living off the river, who are deriving income off the river, owe us, property owners, respect for our properties before they see anybody on the river. And I don't know if there was some, before you go down the river, you got to wear a little badge. I'm a steward, and I have been educated in the behavior that's expected of me. This may help this thing all the way around. And I know, and so that's all I'm going to say about that we have limited rights. The other thing I would like that's been rolling around my mind right here is, the size of the containers. A person floating down the river is going down the, the number 2, number 3 rapids, boat tumbles over, the cooler falls out, everything in the cooler goes in the river. It's trash. It floats down somewhere. There are coolers you can buy that won't pop over. Bag coolers, it's zip up, the boat turns over, everything's in one heap. I don't know, I'm torn between the two. It's like I said, I like for people to use the river, and I like them to buy my property, and I like to see that they're enjoying it. I do not like them abuse my property, abuse anybody else's property. But there's the lady who mentioned educating these people who get on the river, that you just don't freely get on. You're not a carnival. People not going to let you in and let you off. This is more than just a playground. This is a resource. This is a natural resource that we as a community want to protect, and it's in everybody's interest to protect this resource. Chicken farmers. It's our water supply. It's our water table, and it's a very important resource. And I know that it wasn't too many generations ago that people could walk across the broad river. I know where I am, and it was a rocky bottom. It wasn't a sand bottom. It was a rocky bottom, like a mountain stream. And all the silt and stuff that's in the river now is from the behavior that's gone on around it for the past 150 years. In our farming practices, in our road building practices, in our building practices. And we've ignored and been allowed to neglect the repercussions that we generate when we let our topsoil drift down the road across the top of our soil and drift down to the river. And I have a vision one day that, we're going to figure this out, And one day, it won't be a sandy bottom again. It'll be a rocky bottom again. And all that sand will float down. We will learn how really to treat the river as it used to be treated. So we want people to enjoy the river, and we want people, I'm for people getting on it. But I'm for them being educated and having to measure to some standard. Some standard of behavior is expected of you. And if something happens, someone used the word accountability. If something happens and your boat turns over and you lose part of your boat, then you have an obligation to tell someone that your boat turned over and part of your stuff is gone. Just to be accountable. Now, I can't say any, I don't know. There's a lot of details that come to that, but that's how I'd like to see these things addressed as we move forward in the future. So I think I've said all I can say right now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else? be very brief. My name's James McCook, from 1521 Old Wildcat Ridge Road. And the problem with the coolers seems to be the sticking point. And I'd like to point out that this law that we're asking for has been in effect in Helen for about 10 years. And I was up there 3 years ago, and from what I saw, it didn't have any effect on business. You could not have put another hen or two on that river. It was packed bank to bank as far as I could see. So I don't think the cooler, doing away with coolers will be bad for business. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
I will be brief.
I remember the face, but what was the name, sir?
James Tipton.
There you go.
I have, my property's on the, Elbert County side, and I live in DePaul County. I come down on the weekends. Like the gentleman in the blue shirt said, it is alcohol. That's the whole problem, or worse. And we don't have any issues with people that come down early. That's the families, no problem. Across from my property, y'all are probably familiar with the waterfalls. They come down in about 4 or 5 o'clock as the afternoon starts wearing on. They get drunker and they stay there, several hours. And if you want to go biblical, it's like Sodom and Gomorrah out there. I mean, nobody would want that going on in front of their place. So I would suggest, and it won't happen today, but you can be thinking about it, because I have very little faith this is going to work. If there's some kind of a fee that the people that are charging can put that would supplement a Madison County deputy to either station himself across from our place, or he can be on our place, or have traffic stops as people get out of their canoe and get back on the roads in whatever condition they're going to be in. Or can they stop people going down earlier to where that element that comes down late and causes so much of a problem might not tend to do that if they knew they had to get off the river and meet a pickup point earlier. But the family that owns the sandbar, I found out after the last meeting, I know their daddy, good people, nice people. But that's not who causes my problem. The people that cause my problem are the folks they rent the canoe to and the people that come late. And it is a sizable problem. Thank you.
All right, sir. Anybody else? I won't carry quite as long this time. Seeing none, we're going to move on to our new business, and we have legitimate business to take care of as far as the county business and our administrative policies here. So, got Mr. Dan Horn with One Beacon. I'd like for him to come in. We're at a point in our county where we need to consider renewing our insurance coverage through One Beacon. Mr. Horn.
If I may, I don't know what our founding fathers had in mind when they formed this level of government, but the stability that I just heard, I think would have made them proud. Thank you. Every year about this time, we have to address the issue of the property casualty insurance program that Chastain and Associates use in the services of a public entity broker called Public Entities of America, and the insurance carrier is One Beacon. So you've got three parties to this transaction. Chastain and Associates, whom I work for as a local agent. One Beacon is the insurance company, and Public Entities of America is kind of an underwriting broker. And we've used their services for many years successfully. And what really makes this program work is the good communication we've developed over the years with the department heads, with Mike as the county attorney, with the sheriff's departments, different sheriffs we've had over the years. Communication and a forthright addressing of issues before they become courtroom issues are really, I think, the hallmark of what's made this program successful over the years. And to the extent that communication is a two-way street, I want to thank the fine people of Madison County government for always picking up the phone and not assuming things and calling us. The insurance program this year really does not have a rate increase. If there is one, it was minuscule, maybe $300-500, but basically zero. Every year we analyze the fleet, and this year we have 160 vehicles on our fleet policy. If you acquire a vehicle after the policy renews and it's a similar vehicle, it's either replacing one or you're just adding to your fleet. If you add it on September 1st, we're going to give you 11 and a half months worth of insurance on that vehicle and not charge you for it. But if it's on the fleet when it renews again, August the 18th, then we pick it up and charge a full year's worth of insurance for it. So you really, that's what causes the difference between cost of insurance from one year to the next is the fact that we're just, during the course of the...
Excuse me, that door does have to be open, sorry about that. Fire marshal will take it.
Yeah. Sorry. So anyway, last year we had 150 vehicles, this year we have 160, and the 10 that were added are usually cost a little bit more and are nicer than the older ones that are on the fleet. We also picked up a couple of $100,000 worth of coverage for leased or rented equipment, like from a NEF rental or somebody like that. It was cheaper for us to provide that insurance as part of your blanket policy than it was for you to pay those rental companies every time you picked one up. We just kind of did the math. And you sold a couple pieces and added a couple, so you actually had a little bit of a decrease in the stuff you own, $200,000 for what you leased. So the net was like an increase of $181,559. So that's kind of where we are with the current insurance program, and I know we've got some new folks sitting on the board, and it's my first time in front of you all, so feel free to ask any sort of question pop into your head while you were looking at this.
I'm surprised we're paying less now than we were in 2007.
Yeah, what happened was we were out of, Madison County, before you built a new jail, you were out of compliance really bad with federal law, with your jail overcrowding and general conditions, and we had a hard time hardly maintaining insurance during that period of time. And it wasn't terribly long after that, too, that we got hit with a pretty good storm, a tornado around here. So we had a couple of things working against us, but the improvement of the jail situation, the advent of at least putting in some personnel policies over the years that we've worked on, that's something we're going to continue to work on. And the other thing we did to help the automobile insurance rates is we put those gear guards on front of the patrol cars. And we used to have a $5,000 comprehensive or collision deductible, and we're down to a $2,000 deductible. Now we've really, you still hit the deer, it just doesn't tear the squad cars up as bad. So that was something we came up with our law safety control people. We just did, in April, we had the safety and loss control person from One Beacon came out and visited the jail and came up with a couple of suggestions that the sheriff was in favor of. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to have another meeting with her. She's coming up, and we're having the department heads in, and they're going to do some more training on human resource type issues of managing people and how to do that properly. And so these are the type of things, to address, Lee, your these are the things that are ongoing that we're trying to do to keep the rates down. And again, we can't do it unless you guys say, yes, you can come, and we'll make the department head people or appropriate people available for the meetings. Awesome. I kind of have two parts to what the chairman and I discussed something. That's kind of part one of why I'm up here tonight. I got another thing that we need to discuss, and this came up when Mike Pruitt, who is always a big help, he and I and Nancy Quarles from One Beacon and Public Entities, we were up here last week, and it just happened that the Sheriff's Department had a need, and emails were flying around. We were able to address it while we were all together, and we've come up with the idea, in your insurance policy, if the county borrows a vehicle, which means it doesn't pay for the use of the vehicle, somebody just says, here, keys to my car, go take it and use it, no charge, we don't have any way under our fleet policy to cover the collision insurance for that. If you pay for the use of the vehicle, then we can cover it under what's called higher physical damage coverage, which you have $50,000 built in automatically in your policy. Okay, so the sheriff has a need for some vehicles that he needs to use from time to time, and somebody's been willing to provide those. We just can't accept them free of charge. And so there's been and it should have been in your packet, a hired vehicle agreement. And I told Mike before the meeting that I would feel more comfortable, and I should have caught this earlier, I apologize, but sometimes you read something for a second time and it dawns on you. There's two editorial changes in this document. One is borrower needs to be stricken as a word in recipient used. I just don't want the insurance, anybody reading this to think we're borrowing anything. We're just a recipient of the vehicle. And second of all, in the second paragraph where it says the sum of $1 needs to be $1 per vehicle. Other than that, I think we're good to go. So I think this document will provide us the necessary legal means to which we can bring in compliance what the sheriff is trying to do and what we need to do to protect you guys legally. So we got two parts tonight. And I'll entertain a question on the hired vehicle agreement, but I'm probably going to ask Mike first. That's the way Mike and I roll.
So let's take care of them in the order you presented first, if we might. On the issue of renewing our policy with One Beacon. Can you get that right? My apologies for suspecting you work for One Beacon. We need to have a vote to approve the continued coverage with One Beacon from Madison County for 2018.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve. Second. I'm sorry, I have a second. Is there any discussion on this? Any discussion at all? Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, on the second, we'll make the motion, and then if there's any questions or discussion, I'll let Dan field these. What we'll look for is a motion to approve the hired vehicle agreement with the two aforementioned changes. We'll strike anywhere it appears borrower, is that correct? Right. And replace with recipient. And then Bernie mentioned that for the sum of $1, we'll make that sum of $1 per vehicle, the additional per vehicle verbiage. So do I have a motion? So moved, Chairman. I have a motion to approve that. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. Now, for the discussion and for any questions, Mr. Horn might field or our county attorney. Does anybody have any questions on that?
You good with it? Me? Oh, yeah, absolutely. I hope so. I drafted it. That's what
Yeah. If it hadn't been Friday afternoon when I read it, I may have caught this.
No, it was good, it was perfect timing that you, both of you happened to be here that afternoon, so.
Yeah, and I appreciate Dan catching it. If I could just, please, while I have an opportunity to thank Dan and Chastain, Dan really works hard and has for many years now to give us great service in the lowest rates possible and catching things like this. And gets our minutes of all our meetings to make sure nothing slips through the cracks. He calls me if he sees something in the paper that he's not sure I have on top of or aware of, so we really appreciate that.
I was trained by a good Madison County gentleman, Mr. Bob Dosser, who was a mentor to me for years.
He was our
Goes
agent.
around, comes around, huh?
He was our agent.
Yeah.
Great guy.
All right. Any questions at all for, all right, so we'll take a vote to approve the private vehicle agreement with the two changes, borrower to recipient and sum of $1 per vehicle. The vote will go to Commissioner Bell.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good, sir, and I owe you still two responses on
the list.
On the list.
Yeah, we do update this list. And Mr. Scarborough's got it, and if it comes in at 162, we add two. If it comes in at 158, we take a couple off. So this is the time of year we always double check.
And that's not necessarily just, that was all some equipment.
There was equipment, our scheduled equipment list too.
Correct. I will get that to you post haste.
Thank y'all very much for what you do.
All right, sir. Thank you. All right. Now on to item number 7. We'll discuss and vote on a potential watercraft ordinance. And last week, Commissioner Pepple actually presented this, and for consideration or for discussion, you've heard the discussion here from a number of folks tonight, and what we'll be doing is entertaining a motion to put in place this new ordinance.
Let me say just a word before we ask for a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
This is something that hasn't just started. It's been going for years and years and years, and the people have had to endure all this trash and intoxicated people coming into their homes and all sorts of things. And one of the big things I think about too is the outfitters that are making the money don't live in Madison County. They don't pay any county tax. The people that are cleaning up the trash pay county tax. They own their property. And I feel real bad for the people that it's gone on this far, this long, that hadn't been something done about it. I'll make a motion that we adopt this ordinance to protect the property owners.
All right. So what you have is as it was proposed last week, you have that ordinance in front of you, an ordinance regulating the provision of watercraft for hire and use on the Hudson and Broad Rivers in the unincorporated area of Madison County. There were two mentioned or potential changes to this tonight. For your consideration, you'd have to approve this. If you approve this, and you wanted to add the other provisions, we would have to include, I heard mention of a 2-liter size container that was offered by by a group of the citizens.
I think that was 2 liters per person.
Per person, right. Yeah, not to exceed 2 liters in size per person. And then it's mentioned later under the required signage. And then also there was mention of a special needs or handicapped customers being able to possess an appropriate number of coolers or containers as necessary. And in the comment I just had with our attorney was, just want to make sure we get that verbiage right, and that we're inclusive and we say it in the right way. So I would say certainly we can approve, or you can incorporate the 2 liter per person
modification to this proposed ordinance. And we may have to revisit and add a provision for special needs handicapped customers if that's approved by the board too. We'll have to make sure we get the proper verbiage with that.
This ordinance doesn't state anything about no alcohol, is that correct?
It did not.
Okay.
And I think as, I believe it was Mr. Crowbot addressed the fact that if you limit quantity, you're going to limit quantity of everything, so that has the net effect of reducing the potential alcohol or an amount. So.
Mr. Chairman, I second discussion.
I'm sorry, sir.
He made a motion, I'm on second, so we can discuss it.
Okay. So you did make just so I'm clear, Commissioner Felty, you made a motion to approve this?
Adopt the ordinance.
To adopt the ordinance. And was that with any changes with the?
Yeah, with the 2 liter per person changes, the 2 liter per person and the, whatever the special needs people have.
Okay.
This ordinance, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
That is correct.
Not that ordinance.
It is this new one you have in front of you, which for those of you that were here last week, there's nothing substantively changed in this ordinance. It was crafted in the form that Madison County puts these in our ordinance. So there's a little bit of a where's for and a here to addition in there, but content-wise, it did not change. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I would point out one thing, that there was a mention in the one that was presented about the citizens group. The river cleanup was between certain dates as well as after, quote, major holidays. I felt like that might be a little too vague, and so on the second page at the very bottom, there's a space to put in the specific holidays that you would want to cover outside of the March 1st to October 31st timeline. Now, I'm not sure any of these outfitters even operate during those months, so it might be a moot point, but that's one thing, one detail to be addressed.
Mike, let me ask you a question too. If this continues, and I know the outfitters say they can't control the amount of alcohol that goes down the river and can't control where they throw the trash. If it continues and goes into a property rights issue and into litigation, who would be responsible for that? Would it be the outfitters, or would it be the people that's doing the?
Well, I wouldn't predict the outcome of any kind of lawsuit, particularly based on one sentence. Let me address the property rights. As several of the speakers acknowledged, certainly private landowners have their property rights, and particularly if you look at this section of signage, there's really, as far as users of the river, there's nothing that's really changing here as far as substantive violations of law. It's not illegal already. It's already illegal to trespass, to be drunk in public, to litter. What you're doing here is focusing on requiring certain businesses to take certain actions to try to reduce criminal activity by users of the river. And of course, businesses also have property rights in their business, subject to reasonable regulation for the public health, welfare, and safety. So, as several people have mentioned, it is a balancing act between those two things.
Chairman, if I may say something, I know we all know that alcohol is a problem when you abuse it. We're not going to that, but I see a bigger problem with enforcement. Trying to get more enforcement. So whatever we do here tonight, whatever we decide, we need to make sure we give the DNR and our sheriff and see if we can't figure out a way to help them to be able to police this, because it seems to me that, I think if I'm correct, DNR right now does not have a boat. The agent that goes down the river, he does not have a boat. Someone has been nice enough to donate him a boat. So that might be something that helps going forward with the enforcement part. But this is something we're going to have to talk to our sheriff about, because, you know,
public drunkenness is illegal, littering is illegal, and that's everywhere. Doesn't matter where you are. So, like I said, this is something we're going to have to look at too, is make sure we get a little bit more enforcement, at least during that March 1st, October 31st, date when they're being so, that's when their busy season is, and that's where we need to step up our game as well from the enforcement side.
Is DNR able to enforce county ordinance?
That's a good question, and typically, I know the sheriff is empowered to. DNR is not, but again, I'm fairly sure of that. But again, this is not regulating people on the river. This is regulating businesses.
And the DNR can enforce littering.
Right, exactly. Those are all,
that is state law.
Exactly. Those are all state
We need to
laws.
make sure we follow up on that.
I'm talked to Michael about it this morning, we talked in the past, and that's one thing that he's really worried about, Sheriff Moore, is there's like John said, we're giving some people a stick to beat us with, and we can't enforce these regulations, but I think that, I think the homeowners would allow them to come in on their property, different mile markers, and I think it's a great idea. The gentleman had about numbering the boats. But if the river's marked and the property owners are vigilant, then when there is an incident, they can call in the mile marker number, the boat number, things like that. We need a ramp per mile, I would say, for every half mile.
As I understand, when this was first presented, the thought was nothing is in place. And the hope was that by putting something in place, that you would improve, in the eyes of the property owners, you would improve your circumstance by at least being able to point to something. Now, as it pertains to litter and the public drunkenness and certain behaviors and those types of things, those do exist already. I believe in conversation with the Sheriff DNR, effective January the 1st, they've got new guides that suggest that they, and this doesn't just pertain to this type of ordinance, but across the board, they are directed by and large to work only for DNR, and by that, they're not bound to enforce county regulations or ordinances. I believe in the good nature of their service and everything. They're probably not going to turn a blind eye to anything, but they may alert local authorities to that behavior. So much of what is mentioned here, while it may not be as encompassing and it may not catch the things that were mentioned, the boat numbering, the ramps, these types of things, this is again, as I remember it being presented, this was a first effort, and the issue was to try to get something in place that had been put in place in other counties and other cities. So I think that intent has been reasonably met. Last item on this, though, is as we propose it, if there's going to be a vote on anything, I just want to make sure that we do, in fact, address very quickly those issues, the cleanup days. I understand that outfitters have the scale of the operation is very different. So to be equitable, you'd have to make sure that whether, I don't know that you'd want to alternate. I think it would be more of a participant or something of that nature per outfitter, so that any time they clean up at all, that each one of you has a little skin in the game. And that pertains to any future outfitters that may come along as well. So as we look to vote on this, though, I just want to make sure we have a motion and a second to approve this ordinance as it was presented. Right now, we've only addressed the container size, not a cooler, but a container size of 2 liters, not to exceed 2 liters per person. We have an item that wants to, and we need to address special needs for handicapped customers, that they may possess an appropriate number of coolers or containers, cooler/containers, for medical purposes or whatever is necessary. strike, the holiday piece. Because if we limit it, if you limit it, as it's written here, the exclusion or the inclusion rather, as a statement between March 1st and October 31st, I don't know if there's any activity by the outfitters outside of that window to start with. Outside of March to the end of October, I don't think anybody's operating then anyhow. I don't think so, okay.
Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay. So, if there becomes this new demand for winter kayaking, you can revisit this too. So, I mean, I'd leave that open, that's always out there. I don't really want to beat it to death here though. So, I don't kayak in the hottest day of summer, so I'm going to leave that to y'all to direct how that gets handled. So at this point, I'll, again, any discussion on the language there for that thing?
If Mr. Pepple, okay with that? It's his motion.
To strike.
It was a holiday. That's his motion.
Since there's two, it's probably time, right?
So Mike, I'm asking you, is this language here?
Yeah, now you're suggesting to that last sentence, we just have a period after October 31st, correct?
Oh, okay, that's what I was thinking, okay. Move comma, replace with a period, okay. All right, so the three changes that I have right now are to either maximum size container, we have special needs handicap provision, which we're going to have to finalize that language, and then the last sentence of that second page to read, this requirement applies between March 1st and October 31st, period. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, sir.
So that last one was not part of Mr. Pepple's original motion, so the movement and the person who seconded would need to agree to that.
So if you're willing, would you care to just amend to include those three provisions?
Right.
Commissioner Pepin.
I'll second, I'll agree with that.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second now on the floor to approve this with those three changes. Any further discussion on this? None? So we'll go to Commissioner Isco.
Yes.
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 All right. Take care of that. All right. Folks, we have one item, but if there are any of you that need to retire for the evening, you feel free to go. We'll give you a few minutes. No, we're going to close up here very shortly. Sir.
I thought you were going to say Spratt Bullet.
You gotta keep him happy. I hear the first pass is back
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you.
Last item under new business is to discuss, we're not going to be voting, but to discuss 2018 General application. We have mentioned this. What I have done is I have met and traveled roads with our road superintendent, Alan Lipsinski, and we have looked at a number of projects. Now, what I would like to do is to still pursue input from the commissioners on those items, perhaps in your district. It doesn't necessarily have to be within yours, but for those that you feel require or need special attention. As a ballpark figure, the last road that was resurfaced was at a cost of approximately $100,000. That's a little on the low side by what I'm hearing today, but that was what it cost the last time we had that done.
What road was that, Chair?
$100,000 per, $100,000 per mile resurfaced, and that was on,
John,
oh goodness,
Beaufort Terrace,
I believe,
Rockwood?
no, I believe it's Beaufort Terrace, I think.
it was 199, yeah.
Oh, it's the road in front of the school, isn't it? What's the name of that road?
Madison, are you talking about?
Wasn't it,
And then there's,
wasn't that the last one?
There were 2 or 3 that were resurfaced last year. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, has that thought pulled out of doing our research?
They would love to be considered for.
They were about 80,000.
And I'm just, the one that paid last year, I believe, was Garrett, if I remember right, it wasn't Overthorpe. Now, Overthorpe has approached us and asked us if we, would entertain, or what our projections were, so.
They resurface and not pave though, right?
I believe they do either one, but.
I don't like.
They don't like, but I know they had talked about, over on the Smithsonian Road, where it comes into the backside and Culver, you know, those types of things, when they're doing it as county, they want to continue to take it in Madison County, obviously, but they're, talking with, Billy Pittard. It's been with him for the last 3 weeks, and, he approached me and asked me if we had any paving projects, and I assumed that meant resurfacing, but I'm not sure. I can ask.
That road can need resurfacing right now. We got other things a lot more.
Oh, I agree.
Than that.
I agree. And of course, you know, that just completes his road anyhow, coming in, so. And
we can stop in at the bridge, that's be fine.
Yeah. So here's what I'd like to do though, and I'm gonna share with you, I think we spent, last week alone about 12 total hours out on the roads just looking at, we have a bridge, one bridge left in this county, a wood bridge that's in desperate need of repair on the Frank Bird Road. And that's an approximate $100,000 project. And it is completely acceptable to bring a private road, under county maintenance, and not bring it up to paving standard. If we want to get credit for the additional miles for our road digest as far as LMIG, you have to bring it up to paving standard, meaning at that point where it's ready to be paved. But if you choose to bring one under county maintenance and not take it to that level, put it in good repair, then what we must do is we must abandon an equivalent amount of mileage to do that. State has this notion that we're going to add roads for the sheer sake of getting miles and extra road digest money, and they're not doing that. So what I'm suggesting by mentioning that, though, is it is an opportunity, though, if there are problem roads in our district that need to be considered for county maintenance, private roads that need to be considered, then I would also like to compile a short list of roads that we perhaps want to abandon. And there are reasons that we may want to abandon those. I have one over in your district, I believe, in Madison, that you may want to.
I have one that I was going to bring at the next meeting, Kane Road in Harrison. It's, Kane Road. It runs parallel to, I can't think of the name of the road now, but it's just about 100 feet or so between Kane Road and the paved road. Okay. And it's property belonging to a state senator.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
But he asked me 2 years ago to do that, and
it's only 4 miles long. And I believe if I remember right, that's the one where 2 roads intersect, and that's a little adjoining road in between them.
Right.
I do know which one that is.
Right. And there's no houses on it.
Right.
It's just a,
Is that off Cheap Road? Cheap
no,
Road?
it's off of 281.
It's off 281, yeah, it's 281.
281, is that right? Within your street? You might be right, you might be right.
It runs off 281 and goes into, I can't think of the name of the road.
I'll take a look then, okay. And this is what we need. I mentioned, I drove M&S Lane yesterday. They've just completed a logging, operation over there. It is a county road. It hasn't been maintained. There is, to my knowledge, there's one mobile home and there's one, hunting, camp down there with a mobile home. If that road were to continue, which it did at some time ago, there's a creek that joined it to, I don't think the road ever got a name, but it's County Road 231, and that's that Mr. Welshel on his property, Lee Welshel.
It runs into Cherokee Road.
Now that one I do think comes out on Vineyard Creek.
Vineyard Creek.
Vineyard Creek.
Right.
And so neither one of those roads has been maintained since that bridge washed out.
Mr. Mahaffey, you met him one time.
Right.
He owns several acres in there. He didn't want it, he wanted to put another bridge in there and maintain the road, but he's passed away now, and I don't know, he's turned his property over to his son, I think, is in Alabama, and I don't know what's going to become of that, so.
And it is no longer landlocked. There's access from the other side of that too, so that removed that. The only reason for thought here is as part of our, when we talk about subdivision development and things like that, a county road can be, that property can be purchased, subdivided, and the county will then have a requirement to maintain though, if it's currently a county road. And all I'm suggesting to you is to please drive M&S Lane Road if you have a four-wheel drive truck, go drive it. I'm not exaggerating though.
Well, you can only go so far, I guess. There's trees growing up in it now too.
It does. Where it stops, where that bridge, where the bridge washed out. So, but there's reasons. What I'm saying is to kind of capitalize on those roads that need to be abandoned. You can consider taking in. I was on Paradise Valley up in the north end of the county on Friday, and that road's in remarkable shape. It is a private drive and would require very little to bring it to a county standard though. Very little. And that's the road you want. And you've got a number of complaints. All the complaints have been for gravel, not really for deterioration of the road or anything, it's just gravel. And so there are ways to fix some of this. What I'm telling you, the reason for the discussion is I would like to start putting this application together with roads that you provide. We'll look at, take the information and try to go out and get a reasonable estimate on what it would take to bring them, whether it's resurfacing, whether it's take grading, gravel, whatever the cost may be. And I really, we have counts on a dozen roads already, traffic count. Some of the roads that we noted that were in pretty dire need of some help was, there's Timber Lane, there's Poke Road, Kirk, Clements. Clements was one that is real close to, if you don't get something done to it, that one's going to be a little bit more expensive to repair later. It is, and it shouldn't be a mistake. You like Poker Road, all those chicken houses there at the John,
What was it, Irvin Kirk?
Irvin Kirk. And then many times, almost all of these are connecting roads, so they're a little higher volume. I'm just asking, continue looking, and please get me that information, and we'll go out and we'll get a cost estimate. We'll try to figure out numbers so that we can complete this application and get it submitted.
What I'm sorry.
I definitely like where we're going with this, and I'd like to see, I like that list of those 5 private roads, even if it doesn't have to be those 5. Everybody gets to maybe pick one of those and get it in, and then I'd like to see us going forward, maybe use this money across the county based on need. When you do your studies and where that need is, getting some maintenance done, because we've been just, these are people talking about it. This isn't my idea. These are people that, they want to see maintenance brought back up to speed where it needs to be, instead of going out and paving on the road or this road, try to see if we can't get caught up on some of that.
Y'all do the traffic counts right now, aren't you?
We are, and we've got the equipment to put on more roads if somebody, if you want to do that.
I did, talk to Alan today about my own work,
Oh, yeah, okay.
about how they,
Right off Macedonia Church Road, I was telling you about, I'll think of it and then I'll lose it again. It's the name of the Pentecostal church.
New Haven is another one. It's in pretty bad shape. And it's over on the, Highway 98.
Goes between 98 and 174.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it cuts through from Macedonia all the way over to 174. New Haven Church Road, that's it.
What are we talking about now? Researching or taking in?
Both projects, those, anything that's going to require, or that could require expenditure of LMIG or any of our road money. So we have a list, from, that we talked about earlier, things like, I believe there's Stapler Road, South Creek, there's Hope Drive, there was, what's the one down? Hickory Hills was one. Now these were out there, and I drove several that I don't really have a good feel for right now. They're private, and I don't know. I just don't have a good way to get Bluestone Hills Lane.
Beecher Hill.
Beecher Hill's another one, up off of Moon's Grove, right at the 106 end. I'll take a look at all of them, or I'll get Alan too, but I really want to be inclusive and make sure that we're looking at those roads that have been in need of attention, that we might benefit by abandoning some roads and putting these on in place of them on the digest too. So, but I'll take, if not tonight, just please, any way you can get any word to me, email, phone call, or whatever, and we'll start generating cost information on it.
Well, when you get around to talking about research, and don't forget that it's just a short thing, and they'd like to put the cover in, and then waiting on the state to finish that.
Okay.
Full lane of the road, and they finished that, so that's been waiting a couple of years.
I tell you about rests.
Sure. Yeah,
Short Gates County, I can do that for you.
Right, okay. Right.
But how long is that down there?
that's what I'm looking up, that's what I'm looking up right now. About 0.37.
I was going to mention this a little bit later, but since we're kind of on the discussing LMIG application and kind of roads update, we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Yesterday, the county had 2 mowing tractors parked on the right of way up in the northwest part of our county. I believe it's Westwood Chapel. It was one, the location escapes me right now. They were vandalized last night, though, or yesterday. And we sent mechanics up there and actually got a police report on it. But
Northwest section, you said?
it was either on Blacks Creek or Hudson or Westwood, somewhere.
Northwest Road, maybe?
That might be right. And it's a place they've been using, and what we've gone to is I got with Alan and indoor, they can do stuff with your the fuel and some of these additives or whatever that will destroy that engine. We had an issue with an ambulance not too long ago where that was poured into the emissions. That was what, Tier 4 or whatever was put in,
There's got cameras on these things.
Yeah, so, and that's exactly what he's got now, is he's got these wildlife cams when he puts them out, so it's just pretty sad, man. That's cutting hoses, draining all the coolant and draining diesel I'm assuming they took some, but they sure left a lot on the ground near that too, so. But, I want to mention that we have to step up our game a little bit now, make sure that we try to.
They need to be parked in somebody's.
pasture.
Well, and that's exactly, that's what we went with yesterday after we went out. We were contacting folks to see if they'll allow us to put it closer in, perhaps on their property for purposes just parking.
Anytime you go to the road. Come on.
Yeah, so.
I got a beautiful ball park in park.
Cut it, right?
Oh, we could.
Just breaking over
right now. But it doesn't do anything to say that.
So what I'll do is I'll accept any way you can get it to me, any kind of information on roads or road projects that we need to consider. We'll get going on that. Is there any further, like, roads updates that anybody can, think of?
Yeah. If nobody else has anything on that. I've had 2 or 3 requests for speed limit signs on, Cheek William Road. There's been some close calls with some children out near the road, and they'd like 35 miles an hour.
Is there a current speed limit or anything posted?
I don't think there's any signs anywhere on Cheek William right now.
Alan and I learned that anytime you put these signs up now, we have to go through, even if it's a county road, we have to go through DOT for a study on those, so we can take a look at that. I had a request for speed bumps down at Watson's Mill by the Ranger down there. I will delay a response until I know whether or not we're still going to contribute or what our role is in that, the funding of Watson's Mill.
Alan did say to tell our constituents, basically the ones that cut their own signs, how much he appreciated it. Yeah, that's a real good thing. Yeah.
I would say be careful on committing speed bumps anywhere
Right.
in the county, because you open up a can of worms.
We do, in the state park, it's already marked 15 miles an hour. They've got people blowing through at the bridge area down there. They're trying,
Right now, we tell them we don't do that. Inside the city limits, they do whatever they want to do, but outside they don't, so.
I've got.
If you ever do it in one place.
I've got another,
Okay.
to look at the speed limit. Right there, that's the one at the stoplight, the Eagles, right there.
They cut the rules in.
I mean, immediately you go through the light with 45 miles an hour, and there's houses on the right. A church just down on the right.
Correct, I know where that is.
So looking at 35.
Okay, take a look at that. Oh my goodness, there's one other item I'm supposed to mention here. Tell you what, does anybody have anything else road related, roads update or anything there? Okay, urgent matters, anything there? We've really taken care of the only one I needed to, and that's with Dan Horn signing that agreement. There's one mention, I want, because this is coming back up, all I did was suggest to him that I would present it. I've been contacted by a state senator, Superior Court judge, and I don't know if it's the chair, I don't know what his title is, but it's the State Property Commission, regarding a contract, as you all may remember, with the Department of Community Supervision. It's the County Extension Agent's office for the building. And they have requested that we please revisit the notion that the people locally, or the people that handle this below them, acted, the lease that was presented was not what they wanted. So they asked if the board would consider looking at it again. I told them all I would promise is that I would approach you with it. I shared with them that there were concerns about the combining of the extension office and the felony probation office there. But I did, they don't know why their agent pursued the lease some of the language in it, it was explained to me, and I shared with them that this explanation would have been very helpful about a month ago. The sublease or subletting only pertains to the Department of Community Supervision, handles contracts or handles lease agreements for all those departments. Family or child services, probation and all that. Their mention of subleasing is so that they can work the lease and sublet to those departments, not beyond those departments.
How's the goodness we stand with our current decision on that?
Well, like I said, it was.
That's not the way it was worded.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Two of us has dealt with this for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, Mike and you.
Yeah.
The rest of y'all just don't know.
Well, all I told them is they're gonna call me back tomorrow, and I shared with them that I would let them know the general flavor without a vote, without anything. So, if the intent or if the overwhelming desire is to leave it where it is, that's what I'll pass on.
You got my overwhelming desire to leave it where it is. I'm what they want to do.
Okay.
There you go.
On a more local scale, I will tell you that, one of our Superior Court judges is leaning on that a little bit for the support to drug court. That's where his interest lied in that, so. All right, statements and remarks from citizens. Folks, anybody here care to make a statement? Our clock quit, how appropriate.
Yes.
I was very hopeful when I looked at it. Are you kidding me?
The second thing was
We made it under an hour, but we didn't, sorry. We're an hour and 40 minutes. So is there any statement that anybody would like to make?
Is that clock right?
No,
Yeah, okay.
No need for executive. That's okay.
All we need then is a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner.
Who was the first?
Commissioner Eastgate. Commissioner Allen. Yes, sir.